My name is Jeffrey. I'm with KnowledgeAdvisors. We're a learning analytics and talent analytics technology company. We're at booth 126, right beyond these walls. I'm going to do 4 things today in our 30-minute session. First, we're going to talk a little bit about KnowledgeAdvisors, who we are, what we do, very quickly. Then we're going to talk about how to calculate and what the components are to a business case when you're trying to formalize learning measurement and analytics. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about some stories around how to measure learning, what worked and what didn't. So I'll give you a good one and I'll give you a not so good one. And then we'll close with my top 10 list of what you should include in your business case if you're trying to formalize resources, be it money, time, or people, to do learning measurement and analytics. So those are the 4 things we want to accomplish in this 30-minute session, okay? So a little bit about our company. KnowledgeAdvisors is a learning analytics and talent analytics company. Our organization helps you measure, communicate, and improve the value of your learning investments. And we have consultants as well that can help with custom measurement plans for your key programs. The next thing that we do is we have software. It's called Metrics That Matter. It's a world-class learning analytics and talent analytics software. It's been around 12 years. The software allows organizations not only to automate the level 1 through 5 evaluation process, if you're familiar with those learning levels, but the software also allows you to pull in data from the LMS, from evaluations, tests, assessments, 360s, etc., as well as data imports from real business results, sales data, quality data, productivity data, etc., so that you can get a complete picture of how learning not only had quality or effectiveness, but also what was the alignment of learning to the business outcome and to business results. One of the pieces of our learning analytics technology is our evaluation component. This combines science, so we worked with Kirkpatrick and Phillips and Burson and Dr. Brinkerhoff, who was just here, and we take the science of their methodologies and we build them into our Smartsheet evaluations and into our technology. It therefore allows a practitioner to not only have automated, scalable, and repeatable analytics on their learning and talent programs, but it allows you to have credibility as well. Not to mention that we have 1 billion benchmark data points so that you can compare, for example, your leadership programs to other leadership programs, so you can see how your outcomes, your impact, your quality, your effectiveness compares to other programs online in a cloud-based technology that can do these analytics in a very timely manner. In addition to our evaluation core tool, we also have many different technology components that you can add to your analytics experience. These range from dashboards for easy visuals, to really easy to use testing tools, to tools that help you with manager engagement and reinforcement, to informal learning modules and tools, and so on. All of these we have on our public website, knowledgeadvisors.com. You can play a YouTube video, you can download product sheets, or you can stop by our booth 126 and learn more about some of our innovative technologies to help our clients better measure, communicate, and improve the value of their learning and talent investments. So that's a little bit about KnowledgeAdvisors, who we are and what we do. We've been around 12 years. We have clients all across the globe, very large organizations and small, and they all use our technology to help them with their learning and talent investment measurement. So at the end of the day, the real question is, why do we need analytics? Why are we here? Other than the big buzzwords around big data and that management wants to see more harnessed out of the data that we have in our information systems, analytics, summed up, can be needed for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's about quality control. Any business executive wants to know that when they give a budget or they give resources to a department, that there's going to be a sense of quality, that what they produce and what they deliver and what is the output of that is of integrity and validity and reliability. Data helps you do that. It sends a very strong message around quality. Number 2, data and analytics is needed in learning and development because you want to have executive reporting. Don't go to a business executive outside of learning and say, here's my level 1 scores. A, they don't care, and B, they don't understand what level 1 is. You need to transform your analytics into the right business results, dashboards, scorecards, and statements that appeal to the way an executive wants to see those reports. And if anybody wants to stop by after my presentation, give me your email or your business card. I'll send you an example dashboard and an example executive report to show you what I mean directly. Third and finally, you need analytics because you will want to advance what you do with your data today. If all you're doing with your data today is gathering level 1 smiley sheet information or calculating basic information around enrollments and cancellations, that is not nearly the amount of power that you can have to predict the impact of your programs and make wiser investments now versus sunk costs later. So powerful analytics are what we need and what we can do today to really improve the power of our learning and learning analytics functions. So now I'm going to talk about the components of business case. What do I mean by business case? Well, what we've heard from a lot of organizations is that they need to have some form of formal documentation that helps them go to their management within learning and outside of learning to state to management, I need money, I need time, and I need people resources on my team just to do analytics. And I can honestly tell you that at many companies I work with, not only do they have a dedicated resource to analytics in their learning group, they have more than one resource. This is something that people are making heavy investments in, and I'm not talking about it being 10, 20, 30% of your L&D budget. I'm talking about it being less than 3% of your L&D budget. What I'm showing you. Why wouldn't anybody want to invest 3% to better optimize and manage 97% of an at-risk budget? It makes sense. So let's talk about how you can build your business case. I'm going to go through the components and calculations, and if you want to come up after the event, I can send you, if you give me your business card, a one-page simple document that has the business case, all the calculations, and all you really need to do is use that to make your own business case with a little bit of tweaking, not much. So therefore, you don't have to take copious notes. If you're really interested in this topic and in this subject matter, let me know. I can send you that one-page business case very succinctly. Nobody likes to read a 50-page business case. Executives like one page. So right now, let's talk a little bit about what are the components and what are the calculations. First, the components. KnowledgeAdvisors has been studying this again for over 12 years. What you want to do is you want to have compelling and concise reasons why you need learning analytics. We've broken them down into 3. At the end of the session, I'll give you 10 in total so that if you don't like these 3, there's a full 10 you can take advantage of. The first one is good analytics will help you improve the productivity of your people without question. Think of it this way. If you take an organization through a strategic leadership program, it lasts a year. It costs £15,000 per person. Does anybody here think that as a result of doing that, you don't feel like the productivity of those people going through that program will improve by 2% or more? How many people think that 2% is what you can expect at a minimum of a person going through a year of training that costs £15,000 a person? 2%. Anybody here think that that's unreasonable, unusual? Obviously not. Our data shows that if you measure what you're doing, you can get 2 to 4% easy, conservatively improved productivity of the workforce just by measuring those programs better, which is phenomenal. Number 2, our data shows that 65% of all learning investments are not optimally applied on the job. That comes from our benchmark database over 12 years. It's real data. What that means is that 65% of all learning is scrap. It's waste. It's not used. It's sunk cost that's invested and gone. What our data also shows is that if you use measurement and analytics to find where that wasted learning is taking place, when that's happening, you can root it out quicker and reduce that scrap learning by a significant margin. I would argue conservatively, basic measurement can get rid of scrap learning to the tune of 5 to 10% extremely easily. And then finally, administrative savings. How many people here think of their analytics function as a giant spreadsheet that you do once a month on a Sunday because you got to do that report on Monday to management? Think about the wasted administration involved in that type of analysis. It is a horrific experience for the person doing the work, and really all you're doing is you're readying data for analysis, you're not analyzing anything, and you're not making any decisions. In the 21st century, there is technology, there are tools that are available to reduce that amount of information administration immensely. So those are the 3 components that if you build them into your business case, you will have a compelling reason why you want to invest in learning and development. And again, the investment is not 20, 30, 40% of the L&D and talent budget. It's 3% of the L&D and talent budget. It's less than 1% of a talent management budget. But yet it manages 95, 97%. That is a good investment. That is a good argument to any executive. Now let's talk quickly about calculations. I don't want to get deep into these calculations. The document I can send you will walk you through these a little bit better, but here it is at a very high level for each of these three components. Before I do the calculations, I'm going to give you some examples, though, to make it a little bit more relevant. First, productivity. We helped an organization who was struggling. This was a call center, and at the call center, management wanted to get rid of all the information technology training for new employees. They felt like today's new employees, they're tech savvy, why do we need to train them? Well, the telefloral company was like, hold on a second, we've been measuring this all along, and we've calculated through basic evaluation and measurement that over 15,000 hours of improved productivity have come on the job. We've heard this directly from the managers and the employees. This has come from the training. Without the training, we would not have this. And they then took that 15,000 hours and they translated into nearly £1 million of hourly wages and rates that they saved. Once management heard that, the issue of removing that training was gone. It was not an emotional argument. There was no argument at all anymore. It was like, wow, I didn't realize that our productivity was tied to that training. We got to keep that training. You have to have data to show the improvement in productivity. You want to have data-driven conversations, not emotional tug-of-wars that result in, obviously, we lose that because somebody else controls the budget. Data puts you on an even, if not a more informative playing field with the managers who want to do things like kill training that works. The second example is reduced waste and scrap. This is an organization that was a mobile phone company. Two companies merged into one. They had to go out and train all their retail store employees on the new products of the combined entity. Every day there would be a team of trainers that would go out and train a store a day. They were going to do this for 6 weeks on end. Think about all the stores, all the people. With real-time analytics, this company was able to see a small set of teams that were doing poor training. The predicted job impact was not there. The quality was not there. And they felt like if they continue to have that group of people go out and train over 6 more weeks a store a day, that would be not only a negative experience, but they calculated over 100,000 pounds of wasted training would take place in hard costs alone, let alone the intangibles. Once management saw that information, they saw the 100,000 pounds, they immediately took action, made changes, replaced those teams, got new teams out there that were having more impactful predicted training, and they avoided that wasted training. Thirdly and finally, I talked about admin savings. One organization adopted technology to replace their manual intervention for learning analytics. They spent 15 hours producing one report. With technology, that was reduced to 15 minutes. They calculated alone with that one report 36,000 pounds per annum saved just by automating one report. They had 100 plus reports, plus benchmarks, plus dashboards in addition to that one report, but just with that one piece alone, that's what they saved. So I'm trying to tell you this because these are real examples of real organizations that measure their training and their learning investments, and they do it with data, and they do it in a practical, scalable, and credible way. Now let's talk calculations for a moment. I gave the examples of productivity, waste, and admin savings. What I want to do is show you productivity. All you need to do is you start out by saying how much revenue or turnover do we have? Let's take a $1 billion organization. You can plug in whatever your turnover is. If you think about labor cost as 25% of that, that's 250 billion pounds. What I talked about before was we've seen our data show a 2 to 4% improvement in productivity just by measurement alone. I'm going to conservatively use 1%, not 2 to 4. If you take 1%, you're helping the company recoup 2,500,000 pounds of improved productivity in the workforce by better measurement of training. And remember, 2 to 4% was what our data shows. I'm using 1%. Remember that 2.5 million in a moment. Number two, the waste calculation. Think of it this way. You have 1 million pounds of revenue. 1% of that is an L&D investment. Out of that 1 billion pounds of revenue, you're talking a 10 million L&D investment. If 50% of that is wasted, and remember, that's conservative because our data shows 65% is wasted. That's 55 million pounds of waste. And with good measurement, remember what I said, we see companies in the double-digit savings of waste, 10, 20, 30%. Let's use 5%. If I measure, identify where scrap learning is happening, like that mobile telephone company, I can root out significant scrap. I'm going to go with 5% to be conservative. That's 250 million pounds avoided. One more calculation, our admin calculation. If I have the average salary of an analyst that makes 55,000 pounds a year tooling away with spreadsheets, I also have the cost avoidance of hiring third parties to do unnecessary analysis or one-off analysis. And what if I try to replicate benchmarks? That's another 50,000. Good technology can save about 75% of that wasted administration. That's another 116,250 pounds. At the end of the day, that's a total, if you add up those prior 3 slides, of 2.8 million pounds. Now, are you advocating in your business case that that's what you hope to get in your budget for analytics? No, absolutely not. What you're going to advocate is less than 3% of that is all you need for a robust analytics platform. 3 to 5% would be healthy. World-class organizations, according to Burson and Associates, is 8 to 10% of your budget. Leading organizations is 5 to 7%. If you do this analysis, you can tell management, I need 3 to 5% of what I can save with better analytics. Who wouldn't want to do that? That is a wonderful, concise, articulate business case that's quantifiable. So that's the calculation. Again, if you want the one-page business case that you can use with your management, put your business card up here when we're closing out. I'll get that to you this evening. Now what I want to do is tell you a little story about 2 programs, one that used measurement wisely and one that used measurement not so wisely. And then I'm going to close with my top 10 business case examples that you can present to your management if you don't quite like the 3 that I've already given you. Here's an example of program number 1. This was a very large program on the west coast of the United States. Company had thousands of people. 1,019 of them were rated in their round of performance reviews as being a 3, meaning underperforming. Are we all familiar with performance reviews? I'm a 1, I'm great. I'm a 2, I'm okay. I'm a 3, I'm underperforming. Are we familiar with these things? They had 1,019 people that were a 3. The learning organization went to management at the time, and they said, I can create a program that will turn those low performers into the high performers in 2 years. And management was very, very supportive of learning. They said, great, do it. So the learning organization asked for 13,090 pounds per person per year. Do the math on that times 1,019 people. That is a very costly program, extremely strategic and extremely visible. Unfortunately, they had what was called, and I don't know if we've heard of this here in the UK, in the United States, we call it a reorganization. Anybody heard of that here? New management comes in about 22 months later. They look at the books and they say, I'm not anti-training, I'm not anti-learning, but I see this huge, huge expense. And I don't know you in learning very well, but I know expenses and that's kind of big. Can you help me understand what's going on? And the learning group says the same thing that they told the prior management. Oh, we've got all kinds of learning to help these people go from being a 3 to a 1. And we've got these great level 1 scores. People love the training. They love the content. They think the facility and the food is awesome. And we have 80% of the 1,019 people are going through the program. So we've got really good activity. Management, new management says, that's great, that's fine. But the outcome is to take people from a 3 to a 1. How many people are a 1? And the learning group says, well, I have to tell you, new management, you don't understand how we measure training. You're not a training expert. According to Kirkpatrick's level 4, you have to wait a period of time, and then we're going to go back about 2 years from now and analyze the level 4 business outcomes, and we're going to analyze level 3 behavior change, because that's what we do in learning. And management said to them, I really don't care what you do. I want to know how many people are going to be a 1 versus a 3. So I want you to go out and take a sample and ask the managers of these employees right now how many of them they would rate a 1 today. They've been through 2 years of this stuff at a ton of money. I'm not waiting 2 years, and I don't care what level 4 is. I want to know this. So go and do it. Reluctantly, the L&D group goes, and they do this. And here are the results. Nobody, according to the sample, would be rated a 1. This had 2 repercussions on the L&D department. Number 1, the program was canceled immediately. Number 2, the L&D group was not perceived as strategic to the new management. They were perceived as wasteful and as an organization that did not know how to mind their own house. So you don't want to be in that position when it comes to data and analytics. They had a great program. What was the result of the low performance was bad manager support. So they needed better predictive analytics and better goal setting and performance management analytics to help them have seen that. Tools like what we have at our booth, we could certainly have helped there. They measured your traditional smile sheet and your traditional activity, and that was not what was needed, yet they sunk the cost into it, and that's what happened. Now let's look at a different program, a leadership program. Very strategic, very visible, very costly. This is a program that at the end of the 1 year of training, everybody graduates from the program. And management was fine with graduating from the program because you were done with the formal training. Their number one goal was that they wanted to have improved employee performance, and they didn't want people in the program to leave the organization. So employee turnover was a major point when you get into the program. Every year, the learning group would tell management, can we please make an optional learning project that some people do after graduating mandatory, because it really allows the employee to learn on the job at the level above them, and these optional projects are very engaging, and we believe that it should be mandatory. Well, management said, no, that's your belief, that's your opinion, we already have a year of people in the program, that's enough. So go away, I control the budget. Every year, this emotional conversation would happen. Finally, the learning organization wised up and they said, geez, we have data. Why don't we use data? Where do you think the data was? It was a naturally occurring control group. Some of the people who graduated from the leadership program did the project. Some did not. You see that they have a naturally occurring control group? So the learning organization went to HR and they said, I need 2 percentages. I'm not asking for privacy or confidential information. Here's a list of employees that graduated from my leadership program that did not do the optional learning project. What is the percent of people that left the organization from this group? And here's a second group of people that also graduated from the program but took this optional project where they learn above their level in the real world, real time. What percent of those people left the organization? If you look at the data, you will find that the group that did not do the project had a 21% departure rate. The group that did the projects had a 2% departure rate. That is 10 times less. When the learning organization brought this data up to management, management immediately said, we've got to make that program mandatory. Why aren't these projects mandatory? Data drives decisions. Data counts for a lot more than emotion and then opinion and then ad hoc analysis. And data exists if you use it appropriately. So you have to be predictive, you have to use naturally occurring control groups, and you have to use things that are practical, scalable, and repeatable, yet credible. So that's very important. You saw 2 different stories here. One that was very lagging and resulted in a very negative experience, both to learning and management, and one that they turned around a negative experience simply by replacing emotion and opinion with data-driven decision-making. Okay, makes sense so far? Great. Now what I want to do in the remaining minutes that we have is close with my top 10 list of ways that you can create right now when you get back to your office your business case to get some formalized budget and resources to do more analytics for your learning and talent. And again, I don't know if are you all familiar with David Letterman? You know David Letterman has a top 10 list? Well, I have to be honest with you, and I'm going to be sort of, I hate to demotivate. My top 10 is not funny. It is boring all the way from 1 to 10. So don't think it's going to get any funnier when I go from 1 to 2 and 2 to 10, unfortunately. But it is good information, and hopefully you'll find 2 or 3 that can add to your business case. Number 1, you want to make sure that you can alert your L&D team and your business stakeholders immediately with data when something goes wrong. In our system, Metrics That Matter, we have what's called an alarms tool. It'll notify by email instantaneously when data is below a predefined threshold of acceptable performance. So if I'm teaching a class or I'm responsible for a program and all of a sudden data came in that fell below, I'm notified right now. That allows me to proactively manage my problems. So that's why you need analytics. Number 2, predictive measures. You need to make sure that as you're rolling out the program, You are measuring the predicted impact, the predicted alignment to results, not waiting 2 years, keeping our fingers crossed to hope something happens. Predictive analytics is absolutely a requirement, not only with strategic programs, but with any investment. And through turning a smile sheet into what we call a smart sheet, you can add questions immediately with low change management to get predictive analytics around alignment to business results, predicted impact, even to understand immediately where you're going to have manager support or lack thereof. So you got to take away 90% of your level 1 questions and add some smarter predictive questions on your evaluations to get at this. Number 3, social learning. Whether you do performance support, coaching, mentoring, knowledge communities of practice, virtual knowledge networks, you need to measure those things. We have research that shows that 100% correlation exists between those that measure those programs and those that have higher budget after measurement for those programs. Because right now, throwing stuff out there without measurement, it's going to have a limited shelf life unless it has tremendous results ad hoc or through the grapevine. If you have measurement that shows that these things are working, then you're going to have more budget allocated to those and they'll grow. So you got to measure your informal learning. We have an informal learning module that does this. We have a white paper on our website that has a whole methodology around measuring informal learning that you can download for free. Qualitative analysis. It's one thing to say we gather comments and I flip through the evals at the end of a class. Big data really tells you that there are tons and tons and tons of comments given out by your learning customers every single day. If you gather that information, you got to be prepared to use it. What big data says is you got to harness those comments into smaller, manageable, meaningful nuggets. So for example, in our system, we have an algorithm that will parse through the qualitative data based on quantitative analysis, and instead of giving you 500 pages of comments, you might have 2 pages of comments that are very succinct and very clear as to what you were looking for in those comments. Therefore, you harness the power of that information qualitatively. Another reason why you want to build your business case for analytics is business outcomes. The number one thing executives outside of learning look for from learning when it comes to data is how does that program align to the business outcome. You should be predicting those things, you should be asking those questions, and you should be reporting them. I mentioned before I can send you a sample dashboard and a sample executive report. It'll clearly show you the alignment to business outcomes, and you don't need to wait 2 years or do some statistical causal model to make it perfect. Business leaders want the information now, they want it predictive, and they want it roughly reasonable. So you want analytics to drive that, you want that in your business case for sure. Number 6 is cycle time. I can honestly tell you that just like the time value of money, just like the law of diminishing returns, the longer you wait to give somebody data because you're waiting for it to be perfect, the less valuable it actually becomes. People want data now to make informed decisions now, and they'd rather it be roughly reasonable and an educated prediction than perfect 2 years from now when they already made the decision 2 years earlier. So you need analytics as a business case to make decisions now. You want your cycle time seriously crunched and reduced so you can put intelligence in the hands of decision makers with data now. Telling somebody 2 years from now is simply unacceptable. Number 7, cost saving. I think I've already proven this out. I've proven that with conservative numbers, you can, a billion-dollar organization can save at least 2.8 million pounds. With roughly 3 to 5% of that, you can have a robust analytics system. This data plays out for a 10 million pound company, a 100 million pound company. It doesn't matter. It plays itself out and scales up and down. If you go to management and say, I can save X amount of pounds, but I only need 5% of that for a really good analytics platform, that is a huge business case you want to emphasize to management. Next, LMS ROI. If you have an LMS and you've invested in that, and you're using the basic reports there, that's great, that's fine, but many world-class leading organizations integrate that with analytics tools like Metrics That Matter in very easy ways so they get more power out of the LMS. Your LMS has a better return on investment. We turn activity data into utilization data. We turn basic enrollments and completions into powerful effectiveness data from Smartsheet evaluations. We put it all together on dashboards that are clear, meaningful, and visible, and articulate. Number 9, waste reduction. Talked about this earlier, but I can't say enough about it. 65% is what our billion-plus benchmark points show is wasted learning. If you can get rid of just a minimum of 5 or 10% of that waste, like the telecom company did when they saw immediately that this group of trainers wasn't doing a good job, that is significant savings. It also avoids a lot of people that are receiving the learning, receiving poor learning or negative learning experience, or having no impact after a program that was really well hyped and marketed and positioned. So waste is huge. And then finally, business insights, last but not least. Every organization says, I want business intelligence. My management wants business intelligence from every line of business, supply chain, marketing, sales, HR, you name it. They need information systems to translate big data into business intelligence. An analytics tool set can do that for you. And again, it doesn't have to be costly. It doesn't have to be over-engineered. Our system takes less than a few weeks to implement fully, and our team helps support our clients to get to measurement, optimization, and maturity. It's a journey together. So these things don't have to be insurmountable, over-engineered, multi-year projects. They can be simple, easy to do, yet powerful, effective, and good at cost savings. The next steps. I mentioned I can send to you that one-page business case. It has the calculations. It has it in a business format that's ready to deliver to your management on one page. If you also want me to throw in the dashboard example and an executive report example, I'll send all 3 of those to you in an email. That's all you have to do. Drop your business card off. If you're interested in this topic, how to get better with learning and talent analytics, you want some help, you want some technology, you want a leader that's been doing this for 12 years, that's worked with the experts in our industry, has worked with us, then stop by booth 126 because that's where we're at, and we're happy to talk more with you about your specific needs. Also, that's me. Well, that's not me, but that's my contact information, and if you don't have a card and you want to email me later, just do that and I'll send you the material that you need. Make sense? All right. So that's a little over 30 minutes, but thank you.